All right, so I'm Will. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Obviously, thanks to Sean and Missy and everybody for having me out again. Today, I'm going to talk about something that we all are out there doing in some capacity, right? We're all trying to build links in some way, shape, or form. But I think we all realize that the way to go about getting links is changing a lot. And what I think is unfortunate is a lot of people are still stuck doing the old school kind of ways. So I decided I would actually just share with people exactly how we're changing the way we get links for our clients at our SEO company. So I'll speak a little louder. Is that better? Sorry. All right. Usually people never ask me to speak louder because I'm naturally loud, but I will speak up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to say before we even get into the presentation is I like being interrupted. I like it. I like it a lot. This is a subject that I am extremely comfortable talking about. So, I like being stumped. I like people asking questions. So ask them. There's a microphone right there. If you don't stand up and ask a question, but you're thinking of one, then that's not on me, because I already told you that it's totally cool to stop me at any point. Obviously, if your question is just specific to your site and it doesn't apply to everybody else, I'm going to try to give you a quick one and move us along. But that's what the bar is for, and the lunchroom is for, and tonight's parties are for. So let's start talking about, I want to give a story a little bit about something I saw as it relates to link buying and how bad buying links can affect your business. So I'm a believer that everything is in moderation. Yes, I have an interruption already.
Can you say your Twitter name?
My Twitter name is Will Reynolds, WILREYNOLDS. That's Will with one L. You can find me on everything else with whatever that domain is /Will Reynolds. YouTube, Delicious, Dig, Zumble, whatever. Will with one L, or otherwise you'll be following some other jamoke. All right, so I'm going to share with you guys a very real story about what happens when you buy links, or what can happen. But before I get into that story, I'm going to ask anybody here if they don't like the sun. Who here thinks the sun is a bad thing? Good, nice. All right, nobody hates the sun. Like, who in here is seriously hating on the sun? Nobody. Sunshine is great. It makes you feel good. It gives you some color if you're not already born with it. You know, it's some things that it's good for. But then some people don't know how to moderate the sun. So link buying is a lot like the sun. You do too much of it, these people should hate on the sun. I shouldn't. I'm fine. And then you've got these lovely people who know how to do that in moderation. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today as it relates to link buying is how to do it in a way that's in moderation if you've done it, and how to also not rely on it so much, because way too many people are out there buying links as the sole source of how they're getting their links and how they're getting their rankings. So I had the fortune of working with two companies that competed with one another at different times. And the one that we're going to call Big Project was the project that SEER worked on. And another one, Small Project, is one that we were kind of invited in to kind of do a little bit of checkup on. So we did our thing. Regular link building, guest posts, blog comments, directories, top 10 lists, all that stuff. So we did that. And the company got number 4 for their top term on Google at their highest point. This other project that I was invited on, it was a tech-only thing, so they needed some help with some technical parts of SEO, yet they had been number 1 for 2 years, purely on buying links. Purely on buying links. I mean, their homepage had no content on it. They were just buying links to brute force their way into getting into the search engines. Well, let me tell you what's happened. So in my project that I worked on, I haven't touched that site in 2.5 years. The client's still in the top 10. Why? Sometimes you just need a little bit of a shot in the arm. They were a company, they were reputable, they needed some help, but then they were moved along. I haven't touched the site in forever, so it's actually 18 months, sorry. The Small Project, they held the number 1 spot for 2 years. But then they recently dropped from number 1 to number 50 because the pattern by which they were buying links was extremely discernible. It was easy to pick out, and as a result, they haven't come back. So when you think about building a long-term business, which is one of the things that Gary was talking about today, if you're trying to game or cheat the system, you should expect that that's only going to last for a while, and then you're going to have to do this over and over and over again. When people tell me, like, oh, SEO changes all the time, I'm like, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Search engines have always looked for the most relevant content. Like, when have they ever done anything but look for the most relevant content? It's when you're trying to game the system and figure out what they changed in their algorithm yesterday and how you can be smarter than those PhDs is when you get in trouble. So my personal part on link buying is that you've got to do it in moderation. You should evaluate and you should be able to assess the risk. I wonder if that big project that's no longer ranking well for their name anymore, or for anything, was actually worth it for those 2 years of being number one. Whereas our client, who we haven't touched in forever, is floating around there around number 4, 5, 6, depending on the day and where you're searching from. So, I've already said this a couple of times, let's move on. So, one of the things I will tell you, for those that are here looking for more basic introductory stuff, because we're going to get into the advanced stuff pretty soon, directory links, in my opinion, they still work. I use a website called directorycritic.com just to help me keep up with what's new, what directories are launching. It's really good because they sort them by niche. You can sort them by page rank, and then they have their own way of evaluating directories. So it's a good way to see which ones are the highest value so that you're submitting to the ones that are going to give you the most value back. One of the things is what I like about just plain old directory link building is there's no hiding. So if you're getting a link on a directory and it's low quality, well, Google knows that, and they may not value it very much, but you don't have to really worry about being penalized behind something like that. You can look at the page rank and the age of the domain and things like site links to determine if the site you're submitting to is actually worth it. So let's look at site links. How many of you in here are familiar when I say site links, know what they are? Seriously, I need those hands raised for those that know it. All right, thank you, because I'm going to change my presentation on the fly based on what I feel you guys know. So if you don't raise your hand when I ask a question, I might end up going a little too high or a little bit too low. Now, site links are actually these little links below a site. One of the ways to evaluate any directory you're thinking of submitting to is to type in their brand name or their domain name without the .com. If they don't have site links, it's just one indication to understand or to possibly take into consideration that maybe this site isn't as trusted. So when I'm doing directory submissions, and I'm only going to do a certain amount per week, per month, I don't want to do 300 in a day, I want to spread it out over time. I'm going to make sure that the first ones I'm submitting to are at least passing that litmus test. And there's a ton of other ways to evaluate directories, but this is one of those quick and easy ones if you're doing directory submissions. Look for the site links. All right, so I went over how to type in your domain, but think about it yourselves. So one of the things people ask is, how do I know if my site's an authority or not? I mean, many of you in here have probably heard people talk about Google authority. Do you have an authority site? Well, one of the ways is to type in your domain name without the .com or the name of your business. If your site shows up without site links below, there's a pretty good chance that Google's not looking at you as an authority just yet. I haven't heard that from, Paige or Bryn. It's just what my research is showing me that is one of the things that you guys should consider. The beauty is that you can kind of influence what shows up down there if you've installed the Google Webmaster Tools. Who in here has their Google Webmaster Tools installed on their websites? That's really good. Good. All right, so we're starting to get into something a little bit more advanced, but not too advanced yet. So if you search for your industry and words like add URL, in quotes, submit release, news, directory, blogs. What this will start to show you are sites out there that are already talking about your industry, along with words like add URL or submit release. Why would I pick these words out? There are people who already are asking for your content, right? So it's not like you got to go and do this big pitch. There are usually people that allow guest posts, might be another one you would want to throw in here. One of the things that I actually found was there's a lot of Christian press release sites, which shocked me. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were sites that specifically catered to press releases from companies that proclaim part of their faith in the press release. What's interesting about that is if you ask the right questions of your clients in my business, or if you know that maybe the CEO or a high C-level exec really is out there on the road talking about how Christianity has influenced their business, well, now you've got a niche to hit and a place to submit your press releases and craft them. There are people that are asking for your content. The beauty is that there's a tool out here, and I hope that this one actually shows pretty well. There it is. So what you do is you put in your keyword, I believe, or you put in your keyword, and then you select the search engine. So you've got Google, Yahoo, MSN, and Ask below, and then it automatically creates all these queries for that keyword. Anybody here seen this tool before or used it? Okay, well then write it down. It's going to save you some time. Here it is. I think if you just go to /tools, you can find the tools that are there. It's a really good tool. It'll save you a lot of time. Just trust me, because then you don't have to go in and do all these yourself. All right, so Gary mentioned it today. Do it. Search for your own brand name. One of the easiest things to do if you're searching for your brand name is to find people that are talking about you but not linking to you. Sound easy enough? Basic enough, right? So if somebody's talking about me, hey, I saw Will and I thought his presentation sucked, whatever, like, well, I'm not gonna ask for a link then because it's not a very positive thing that they're talking about. But if it's somebody who had a pretty positive experience and they're not linking to a page that I'm targeting, or if they're not linking to me using the right words, or if they're linking to me with my name instead of a word that I'm targeting, there are ways to ask for that for somebody who's already linking to you and liked you. With Yahoo Pipes, there's something called the social media fire hose. So how many of you in here are subscribed to Google Alerts? Good. And then there's all other kinds of ways you can be alerted. Twitter, and you can check your see what people are talking about you on Facebook and Technorati and all that stuff. That's a lot of individual sites to check up on, right? This kind of stuff takes up a lot of your time. The idea here is Yahoo Pipes has somebody built something called the social media fire hose. Google it. You find it. You can put in a word that you're looking to track. It will track across all of these different places. So it'll track it in Yahoo, it'll track it in Google, it'll track whether or not people are using your brand name in Flickr, it'll track it in Technorati, it'll track it in all these different places. So now you don't have to go out to all of these and spend so much time trying to keep up on who is talking about you out there. All right, here's a general rule of thumb. If somebody wants to burn me at the stake for this and tell me that I'm wrong, please do. I tend to find that industry links are more valuable than generic ones. So if you're looking for directories to submit your site to, do it based on your industry. Do it based on a theme around words you're trying to rank well for, because it should make sense for those of you that are just kind of getting started that if a significant, God bless you, if a significant amount of sites that all talk about the same theme link to the same site over and over again, that is going to help you build an authority on a certain topic and help you get those much coveted site links. And then after you're done going after those and you exhaust those, then start to backfill with some of the more generic directories. Everybody with me so far? All right, cool. Because we're going to start turning this thing up a little bit. So one of the things that people don't do enough of is use Twitter for link building. Anybody in here using Twitter for link building? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well, I know a couple of you guys. Of course you are. So it shocks me that people don't do this, and I'm going to share this with you guys. One of the guys that we work with, his name's Adam, he had an idea, and we had a client who sold air conditioners, right? And what we did is we sat on Twitter and did a Twitter search, okay, for people that use words like broken AC, broken A/C, AC broke AC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The idea was, let's find a way to get those people to write about their experience on their blog. Most people on Twitter probably have access to write on a blog somewhere, and link over to us, and then put a badge on their site to allow their friends to rate whether or not their story was, you know, the one that talked the most about how horrible it is to not have air conditioning. The client ultimately couldn't implement this, but that's okay. What would have happened is you would have had probably 50 or 60 different people who were all typing about how their air conditioner was broken, write a quick story and take some pictures about how horrible that situation was. Link to our client's site, and then they were going to tell all their friends to go vote for it, who were all going to link to this as well. You can build links like that. If you use Twitter to help people solve their problems in a legit way, it's not like, hey, I'm hot. Want to buy an air conditioner? Not so cool. To me, that borders on spam. But if somebody's air conditioner is broken and you're able to give one away, that's an extra inventory item or something like that, why would you not do it to get those 50 links or so that are pointing back in? Here's some other types of words that we've kept a track for and then proposed to do a contest on. Office is freezing. How many of you have a cold office? Right? Some of you do? How many of you have ever tweeted that the office is cold or hot or whatever? Think about it. For my client, I'm like, hey, you know what? You've got these portable heaters that you can sell for 30 bucks. People are out there buying links for 60, 70, 80 bucks, hundreds of dollars, when you could just sit on Twitter and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to create a contest, cost you nothing. Follow these people, cost you nothing. To give away something that's already in my inventory, cost you just what you paid for it. So you find something that's overstocked, you're not selling anyway, and make it a giveaway. Turn people who are experiencing problems and twittering, twitjamaing about it, into something that actually can turn around and get you links. People have dropped their iPhone. Who in here has dropped their iPhone and had it break? It's not a very pleasant experience when you do that. The minute you can get back on Twitter, you're probably telling people you dropped your iPhone, right? Well, if you're one of those companies where you can send your phone away and it's repaired, might you actually want to say, hey, we're going to follow people that do that, and at the end of 2-3 weeks, when we've got 50 or so people or 20 people or whatever, we're going to do a contest to fix it for free. These are the kinds of things that I think you guys should be thinking about. So some of you might say, well, Will, what if I find all these people to enter into a contest, but I only have time to contact 50 or so of them? Well, it's my belief that you can use technology to help this process along. And this is where we're going to start going from beginner into more advanced stuff. You can use APIs to do things like say, well, pull out for me the number of followers that these people have. So if there's 500 people and I don't have time to look at 500 individual websites, I can use the API to pull their number of followers. So at least I can make sure that the people I enter into my contest are people who are going to be most likely to spread the word, get more people to link, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense so far? Cool, all right. So all you guys are going to do all this and put me out of business, right? You can also do a link domain search on somebody's Twitter profile. How many inbound links does their actual Twitter profile have? Very few people actually get inbound links to their Twitter profiles. Some of the top people on Twitter actually do. It's another way to determine what that person's ability to spread the word, and online, spreading the word to me is links. So if you unfortunately put the wrong 50 people into your contest and none of them have any followers, none of them really have any influence, then you're going to get a lot less link value from that contest. You can also use Twitter Grader. Anybody here ever use Twitter Grader? Cool. Some of you tried to see where you were. Well, it'll give you all types of information on this person. So let's say you go, well, I don't have time to build an API interface and pull that stuff. Okay, well, fine. Then you can use something like Twitter Grader, drop these people in, and have an intern or somebody maybe do that for a couple hours a day to then order and prioritize who you might allow into the contest. Crazy stuff yet? Nothing black hat, right? This is pretty straight up stuff, right? Good. So one of the things that I think is shocking people are the questions that I ask my clients when I'm trying to do link building for them. And they're like, why are you asking me these questions? Let's show you some of them. Wouldn't you be a little bit surprised if your SEO company said, hey, do you have a female or a Muslim or an African-American exec on your business or on your board? They're like, why are you asking me that? We just paid you to go get us higher on Google. Why are you asking me those questions? Or something like, how long have you been in business? Do you use a technology like Scrum? One of our clients programs in this methodology called Scrum. Anybody familiar with it? See, yeah, look, some of you are. I didn't know anything about it, right? But by following the name of the company in Google Alerts and using social media firehose and things like that, we saw all these people saying, hey, they're using Scrum. The Scrum site had like a page rank of 6 or 7, and they featured prominent sites that were using this methodology. Page rank 6 link. Who in here wouldn't like a link from a very prominent site? It was easy, but part of the reason why this opportunity showed up is we asked these kinds of questions, we set up searches on these things to automatically let us know when opportunities showed themselves for our clients to get straight up white hat, good old clean links. So then, who are your vendors for technology, marketing, HR? You guys see these, right? Are any of these questions that you go, yeah, these are typical SEO, link building type questions? Probably not. Here's more. Do you hire stay-at-home moms or dads? Who provides your on-site search tool? Do you have an intern program? What's your city, zip code? Is your company publicly traded, et cetera, et cetera? And people go, well, Will, why are you guys asking me these questions? And it's because I'm trying to prepare my clients for what will come. And I believe what will come is that eventually Google, Yahoo, and MSN are going to devalue directory links. They still work now. But there will come a time where those will be worth less. So how many of you in here are prepared to be ready for the day when Google flips the switch? I mean, for any of you in here, how many of you in here remember the Florida update? Right, so what do you guys that are here remember about the Florida update? You woke up one morning and your rankings for some of you were totally gone. Mine weren't. You know why? Because I wasn't doing, for those of you that weren't aware, because there weren't too many hands up, the Florida update was an update where Google basically devalued reciprocal links. And you remember back in the day where you could just set up a links page on your site and you linked out to a guy that shined shoes, one guy that sold laptops, another guy that sold iPhones, custom bottled water people. It was never on a theme, but you could game it. And it kind of worked for a decent time. And then one day Google said, you know what? We're not going to let that happen anymore. So for people who weren't preparing for where Google, Yahoo, and MSN were going, they woke up one morning and went, oh snap, guess what I saw? And it's like your rankings are all gone, your business is gone. Those that you didn't get the Biz Markie reference, that's just horrible. Everybody should know Biz Markie. But you think about that and you go, I don't want to wake up one morning and have all my rankings going. Who in here would really enjoy waking up tomorrow and seeing all their hard work for the last months and years go away? I didn't think so. So what you've got to do is you've got to prepare for where the search engines are going. So you can play the race or gender card. The reason why I ask, are there African Americans or Muslims or Asian people or whatever? Is it okay to call them Asians? I don't know, okay? But my point is that you ask these questions. There are bloggers out there who are profiling and highlighting executives that are Muslim in corporate America, that are female in corporate America. There are sites that highlight stay-at-home moms and dads and sites that hire these people, and they all link back, okay? These are coming from sites that have some authority. They're on a topic. So if I were you, one of the things I would think of is what are the questions that I can ask myself, which might get you locked up, but if it doesn't, what questions can you ask yourself to be like, you know what, let me start looking for links in a new way? Testimonials, and I'm sorry, my screen here is like not very easy to read, so pardon me. But a lot of companies that you may work with may offer testimonials. If you're actually happy with them, offer to write them a testimonial. Now, if they don't link out, well, maybe just do it because you're a good guy. For me, from an SEO perspective, I'm at least looking for the people that we work with and our clients work with who have testimonials who link out to the company. You'd be amazed at how many of these large enterprise software type companies that have very expensive software and very high page ranks, Oracle, people like that do testimonials for some of their clients and link back to them. It's easy. Write the testimonial with the link in it, send it to them, make it easy. Web hosting, another example, testimonials. Charity, I would never say do something for a charity for a link, but if you're already a charitable person, it doesn't hurt to make sure that you're listed properly from the people that are on their lists. In-kind donations is one of my favorite things. Has anybody in here ever done a search for the word in-kind donations? Didn't think so. Okay, I'm going to share something with you. You do a search for in-kind donations. If you offer your service in kind to nonprofits, many of them will link back to you. You offer some of your time. Remember, this isn't about buying links. You just offer some of your time to offer your skills or expertise to a nonprofit, very often, which sometimes have great inbound links, great link value, and they'll link out to you. Sound crazy yet? Not too advanced? Okay, good. So how many of you are working with an SEO agency or an in-house SEO or doing this work yourself right now? It's the vast majority of you, right? Good. Okay, put your hands back down. How many of you have been asked questions like that as part of your link building efforts? Don't wake up tomorrow and go, oh my God, where did my rankings go? You have to prepare for where they're going. We all know that this is coming. We don't know when, but you want to prepare for it so you don't wake up one day and go, oh snap. Guess what I saw? Thank you. All right. So the rest of the line goes, a fella tongue kissing my girl in the mouth. I was so, never mind. My time as a rapper is over. All right. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it yourself, if you're in-house in it, if you're an agency, they should be asking you these types of questions to find high-value, long-term links that aren't, hey, I bought a link on this site on a .edu, or hey, I bought this link here or there. I submitted you to this directory with your keywords right in it, because eventually those will be devalued. So you want to be prepared for that devaluing by going out and getting these types of links. I just had to tell a client, I was in San Fran 4 days ago, and I was telling a client as we were asking these questions, she said, well, we're not getting a lot from those right now, and a lot of our questions, you can't answer them. And I said, maybe I'm just a little too nervous about the search engines changing their algorithm someday and going to this. So I said, you know what, it's okay if we don't get this all right now, because they're still valuing the old school way. But it's my job, and think about it, for you all that are either working for yourselves or in any kind of for a business, you should be trying to make sure that your rankings last for the long term. Doesn't it suck when you wake up one morning and your rankings go, whew, and you go, oh crap, is it something I did? Is it a change in Google? What is it? And it drives you crazy. One second, and I'll get to your question. That drives you nuts, right? So what you should do is be looking at what they are going to value and start to prepare yourself to get those now, so that when everybody else, when the Florida update came and people went crazy, it didn't even affect me or any of our clients, because that's when we were moving into more of the directories submissions. And now that the directory submissions are going to be slightly devalued at some point, we're now moving into this, which I think is the way to build the longest long-term value links. Question? And there's a microphone back there. I think does he need to go to the microphone? I'll repeat the question.
Okay. When you said about reciprocal links, I was interested about that because I on blog catalog.
Yep, you got a mic.
Okay. I go on Blog Catalog and other blog social media places and converse and interact with other people in my vertical. And so we may say, okay, you know, I saw your site, I liked your site or whatever, and they may link to it, and just out of, you know, what would be the word? You know, just out of respect to them linking to me, I link to them. So I guess the question I'm asking is it solely because you are linking, you have an email link to you that also they have, you know, without any concern for whether it's, you know, you're in the same niche or same thing?
Okay, so
because you said shoe shine people and all that kind of
right.
stuff. You know, I mean, my vertical is health, so.
If somebody links to me, should I try to find a way to like no follow mine to them? Stop that bullshit. Like, just link to the person, it's fine. What will happen though is you should be aware that when somebody links to you, that passes a certain amount of value. When you link back to them, it has the opportunity to minimize slightly the value of that link to you. But if, like, that's how I roll, you talk about me and I got a chance to link back to you, I'm gonna do it. I don't let the value of that link influence what I think is doing, what I feel is like doing the right thing. Does that answer your question, Patrick? Yeah. Cool, all right. Oh, we got another question coming.
When you have them link to you, like I'm a wedding photographer, okay. And would you be in that particular, in Atlanta, so what I put the link needs on, let's say on their site needs to be Atlanta wedding photographer, does that have anything to do?
Absolutely. As much as people will, I don't like that that's the case all the time, but you know what? The words in those links matter. They matter a lot. So where you can influence them, influence them. I mean, you know, in theory, it would be great in an ideal world if Google could figure out what the site's about, and then, you know, even though the link links to your name or the name of your company, Google would figure all that out. The problem is I have a client right now ranking in the top 10 for a competitive term in the plural and number 252 for the singular. Google's got some other stuff they need to figure out before they're ever going to get there. Think about it. The concept behind how a client could be, you know, if you typed in laptop and they're in the top 10, but you type in laptops and they're past 250, Google still has a long way to go. So in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to try to influence that a little bit, but I think they got a long way to go. Okay, so I would say influence it, you better believe it, influence it where you can. Now the best thing is, try to get your business name, kind of also including some of the words, but that's very hard for existing businesses. So try to influence it where you can, but don't not link to people and don't push it too hard with somebody that's linking to you. If they decide, you know what, I'm gonna link to you with your name, and you really wish they said, you know, hey, you know, he's a great Atlanta photographer, whatever, take the links as they come, don't push too hard, because I think that's just kind of salty, it's not a cool way to be. All right, we got another question?
Yeah, boy, that works. Sorry about that.
All right, bring it, I'm ready.
Now, we've discussed directories and the possibility in your mind of the value being diminished in the long term. I recently on my blog added some blog directories which required reciprocal links. And my blog went from top 5 to 3rd page of results on Google. And then I removed my reciprocal links back to those blog directories and it popped back up. Yep. Have you had any experience along those lines? And in other words, does it appear that Google is seeing that as a reciprocal link and penalizing it?
If I were Google, I would penalize that every day. You know why? Because if I'm a blog directory and I think you've got great content, I should link out to you without you having to link back to me. The minute they require you to do that, I would say, you know what? We don't submit our clients to places like that. Because A, a lot of our clients, like, we're not linking to joe-directory-guy.com, A, but B, like, you know what? If they're really about producing great content, they shouldn't require that people reciprocal link back to them. So it's one of the times where reciprocal linking, I think, is very bad. If somebody requires you to do it, I wouldn't submit there. I would not submit there at all. Okay?
Thanks.
So, like I said, though, you know, we don't know if this is coming in 2 weeks. We don't know if it's 2 months or 2 years. But I want to be prepared for it when it comes. It's kind of like the rapture, right? All right. So that's my part on some new and inventive ways to go about getting links. All right. How many of you in here are using Delicious? How many of you are using Delicious for link building? Oh, damn, you guys might actually know some of this stuff then. All right, So I'm going to tell you guys exactly what we're doing at SEER. And we're having a hard time with this because we're just starting to do this, but we're working through it. I love using Delicious for finding links and uncovering places to get links. I would say one of the things is if you're going to do it, keep your research private. Mark them off as private. Otherwise, somebody out there can see everything that you're trying to categorize and index for link building. But we'll do something like have an intern run some searches that should in theory bring back good results of places where it's easy to submit our link. And how are we doing on time? I just want to keep an idea. Great. All right, I'm actually ahead. So that means we got even more time for questions, which is good. But let's say we bring on a new software company. We'll have an intern go out and type in software developer and a word like resources or lists or in a certain city. God bless you. And what they'll do is I'll have them categorize them all in Delicious and tag them all. So if you're not familiar with how Delicious works, look it up as soon as you get out of here. Because what I'm going to explain to you might not make a lot of sense, but it will help you tremendously. So then what I have this person do, once I figure out or my team figures out the right queries, we'll give an intern to say, hey, go out, do the Google search, and index all of these sites. Tag them with what they're all about. And then what we're doing is we're pulling that information out of the API from Delicious into our own tool, where we are scoring these links to determine which of those we think will provide the most value. So you look at a word like tech companies in, or remember that list I showed you before with all those different links? Remember that tool I said, the solo SEO tool? Just clicking on those, get an intern to click on those and to find websites in there and to tag them all in Delicious. By the time they're done going through all those, you might have found 100, 200, 300 or more actual high quality, high value places to easily submit your site. One of the easiest ways for you guys to go out there and get links today is all of us are in a city somewhere. Type in companies in and your city name. And you will find lists and lists of people who are like, hey, here's all the new media companies in Philadelphia. Great. We're not on that list. Submit. Easy, right? That's one of the easiest ways. Now take it up a level. You can do cities. You can do states. You can do regions. You can do by industry type. You can do tech companies in, which is why I have tech companies in there. You could do, and that's when you start to think about African American or Muslim. So I might type in the word African American something list, right, in my Google search, and throw an intern on it. Let them index them all and look at all the sites and see if they're quality or not. But then they will tag in Delicious all of these. So then when a client comes on board and answers that question, yes, we have an African American C-level exec, we've already got a list of 30 prioritized of sites that we can go and submit to from day one. Now, a bad search would be something like mommy bloggers. Why? Because to me that involves a lot more of a pitch. You got to get yourself ready. You know, you got to say, okay, well, how am I going to pitch this to this person to get them to write about me or link to me? When you are first starting to do this type of link building, you want to find things that are like favorites, lists, resources, top 50, top 100. One quick little semi-advanced thing. If you type in top, space, a star, and then companies, and then like your city, that wild card will come back with anybody who said top 10, top 20, top 50, top 100, top 1,000. So instead of you having to go, God, I got to type in top 10 in Philly, top 20 in Philly, maybe Philadelphia, you can use the wildcard search in Google to help you get a broader array, and then you just put an intern on it to go ahead after you figure out the right query and have them index them all and categorize them all in Delicious. So far? All right, this is where it starts to get, if you don't have experience in Delicious, just start. Okay, I can't say anything else about it, but just start. So here's exactly what we're trying to build. It's been a little bit tough, but Delicious has an API. Okay, everybody here is familiar with what an API is. If you're not, tell me now, because the rest of this is just like, you might as well leave. All right, thank you. Yes, see, you're the honest one. All you other guys are like, I don't know, I don't want to say it. It's only something I should know. Do you know? Do you know? All right, an API is, and I'm not a tech guy at all, so Chris, fix this for me, please. Or Randy. But an API is pretty, basically it allows somebody with a bunch of information somewhere for you to pull that information out and put it somewhere else that you want it to be, okay? Without like scraping. Have you ever heard people talk about screen scraping where you like build a spider and it takes like the Google results and pulls it all? No, there's a lot of, like Delicious says, hey, if you want to pull all those things you just tagged and all those URLs, you just use our API. It's a programming thing, so you got to find a programmer who can pull that information and bring it local, okay? And then you can run different kinds of tests and things like that on it. Good. It's like a public database. Is another great way to look at it. But it's a public database that you can take from where that database exists and pull it into your own database and manipulate the data however you want. All right, so I'm going to skip that second bullet point because that's really, really crazy. And I'm going to skip the third, so I'm probably at the fourth. I'm going to skip the fourth because I'm actually going to get into how I'm using these APIs. So you take your tags in Delicious. This is very important. Intern goes out and finds all the people listing resources in your city, in your state, in your in your industry, and they found and asked all the right questions of your technology providers and all that. They tag all of them. You pull that information in locally if you can, using their API. So some programmer's got to build that for you one time, and then you can use other APIs to then score these links that this person found. So right now, how many of you look at potential link partners and basically look at their page rank and make that a pretty big determination of whether or not you're going to try to get a link from them? Okay, a couple of you, raise your hands. I know it's most of you. People are addicted to the page rank. It's like crack. I don't know why, but people love to look at that little green bar. If your page rank goes down and your traffic goes up, who cares, right? Can we agree to that? Good. All right. Yes?
When you say tag, I use Delicious, I'm familiar with tagging, but are you suggesting that we tag it with a specific little keyword we know so
Yes.
we pull it?
Yes. So when I'm doing research in Philly, for companies that link to companies in Philly, I'm tagging every site that comes back, and I'm having our intern tag every site that comes back with Philly.
Okay, so that if we pull it from the API, it pulls it into that bunch based on our tag?
Yep. Now this is the really, really advanced way to do it. I'm going to show you guys a much less advanced way to do the same thing. But then you've got Alexa, then you've got things like Yahoo, and you've got 8RSS and Linkscape and Technorati and all those different places that also have APIs. So when we bring in and have an intern find 200 sites in a day on a topic, we bring that information into our database, then our database goes out to all these other APIs and scores each individual site that we put into the database. And then it tells us, all right, Will, this intern found 200 sites that list tech companies. This one has the highest combination of PageRank, domain age, inbound links, and all those things. And we go, whew, that's the one we're going to submit to first. And then there's the one we're going to submit to second that has the second list, and the third and the fourth and the fifth. This is how you don't waste your time. Very often people get their list of 200 and they start off, but they have no idea other than PageRank, which only updates publicly to us like every 3 to 4 months. So a site could have gone from a 1 to a 6, but because it only updates every 3 to 4 months, you might have totally missed out on that opportunity. So this is why you use other tools to help you score linking opportunities. So 8RSS I'm going to talk about briefly. It's another website, write it down, they have an API. One of the things that they used to do that I am begging them to bring back, they used to give you post frequency for blogs. Does anybody in here know why I would think that post frequency for bloggers is something that you guys, when you're building links, should be tracking? So one of the things is that when the search engines are coming by and seeing that you're updating your content regularly, it's going to give you more authority. I would say it's not going to give you more authority, but what it will do is it'll say, Google's saying, hey, you're posting a lot of stuff. I should come back more frequently. So it's probably going to get your stuff indexed more often, but that was not the answer I was looking for. Anybody else got a different take? Yes? That is true. If there's more posts, it's an opportunity for them to link to you. I'm going to give somebody else one more shot. Somebody gets this, you're good. Yes?
It's more up to date. It's very recent.
It's very recent, which is kind of what you mentioned too. So here's why I track, because nobody got it. So nobody gets a shot from me at the bar tonight. Here's why I track this. And think about this. If you follow a blogger, and they used to post every 3 days, 4 days, whatever interval they used to post, and then all of a sudden it becomes once a month or twice a month, guess what you have an opportunity to do? Guest, God bless you, guest blog post. So you go, you know what? And then this is when you go, and they don't even know that you're not doing this. But you're like, I've been following your blog, right? And I noticed you haven't posted in a while. Okay, Gary would say you should actually follow their blog. I'm saying you can't follow everybody's blog and do your job. So the approach that I take is you subscribe to it in your feed so that you can actually stay on top of what they're talking about, but then you use something like 8RSS to see their post frequency. And the minute that post frequency drops to a certain level, you go, ooh, this is an opportunity for me to say, hey, I noticed you haven't posted in a while. I wrote this thing. I'm not sure if you'd be interested in posting it, but let me know. They're going, great, I don't have to write another piece of content for a while. And this is somebody who used to follow my blog, right? Easy way to get a link. What's great is that they have an API, but they took this feature out, and I'm begging for them to bring it back. Because by doing this, you could index 500 bloggers in your niche. Maybe there's not that many. Maybe you have 50. But instead of you having to read all 50 to try to stay on top of when they're posting and when they're not posting, this will automatically tell you, hey, they're not posting as much, and then you can go in and offer a guest blog post or something that will link back to you. By scoring each one of these blogs the way that I'm talking about, using these APIs and all this crazy mumbo jumbo, it allows you to then know who do you go after for your guest blog post first. You got 50 different people to contact. How do you know, other than PageRank, who's the one that's got the most, who's going to provide the most value to you? This is why you want to tag all these sites in Delicious first, bring them all into one place, and then score them, and then based on how they're scored, now you go out and say, hey, I only got 5 guest blog posts and 50 places to submit them. Doesn't it make sense for me to submit my 5 to the 5 that have the highest value in helping me rank well? Yes?
Hey, Will, you tag them in Delicious, how do you score it?
The way I'm scoring them is I am using APIs for Alexa. I'm using them for 8RSS, Linkscape, Technorati, FeedBurner, PageRank. Yahoo has an API for one of their search tools. So I'm pulling my tags from Delicious into our database. And then our database is going out and pulling the PageRank, the blog post frequency, and all these things that I'm talking about, brings them back in, and then we have an internal algorithm that I can adjust and say, you know what, I feel that domain age is mattering more, and I slide it over a little bit, and then it goes, oh, okay, well then now I'm gonna reorder your list. Very technical stuff, very doable. If I can think of it, guys, it's easy to program, trust me. All right.
Hi, Will. Steve Wiedemann, Relevant Ads.
Hey, Steve.
Question on, you touched the blogging community, the blogosphere. Isn't Blogger and WordPress, aren't they Nofollow? Kind of as a default. Would it be important to ask them to install the do follow?
So the question revolves around no following. And what happens if you're doing blogger outreach and they have a no follow tag on their site? It's a good question. I don't really care if somebody has a no follow link on their site. I tend to believe that there are times when no follows don't act the way people want them to think they act. It's the same reason why Google doesn't update their toolbar every week anymore, and they do it every 3 to 4 months with the PageRank. Because I feel like my YouTube channel, it's got like a lot of views, it's got a lot of comments, it's got a lot of videos in there. Google would be crazy just because it's got a no follow to not use that information to see that there are people watching these videos every day, they're rating them and commenting on them, embedding them like mad. Why would they not use that data when it all sits in the same data warehouse in theory? Why would they not use it? So here's my recommendation to all of you. Do not solely make a decision about whether or not you're going to go for a guest blog post or something like that just because it's no followed. Because a lot of people who are no following links out of their site are doing it to minimize spam, and it's because they have a highly popular site. So you know what? I would go ahead and submit it anyway if their scoring shows me that they're at a certain level. Sure. So one of the things about Delicious that I like, I'll get to you one sec. One of the things I love about Delicious is there's a Firefox plugin for Delicious. So instead of you don't go into Delicious to tag things, never, never, never. As you're on sites, you just have your intern right-click, tag, save, move on. And if it's an intern, they're going out to the search results, scanning the site and going, this is a good site for top 100, comma, Philly, comma, tech dash companies. And then they score it and then go back to the search results and they're on to number 2, figure out whether or not it's good, back to number 3, number 4. So with an intern, once you figure out what you want to do, how you want to direct them, it's really their job just to go in and use the Firefox plugins to just tag the stuff over and over and over again. Yes?
Can I actually be heard? One of the things I was thinking of is if you're offering to do a guest post for somebody else's blog, do you think it would be just as valuable to do it in the reverse where, like I contact artists and ask them if I can interview them. I put it on my blog, which links to them, but because they've been interviewed somewhere, a lot of times they'll post a blog saying I was interviewed over here, blah, blah, blah.
Love it.
Do you think
Love
that's
it.
effective?
Love it. I'm going to add it in as a bullet point the next time I give this presentation.
All right.
Thank you, Jed. No, she's asking, does it work in the reverse? It absolutely does. You know, sometimes you can take someone who's really good, and it's a shame because I think there's this freaking sorry A-list. You know, there's these people who are like A-listers in their industry, and they put their pants on the same way we all do, like, you know, one leg at a time. They're nobody any different than any of us. What happens is there's all these people out there who have great content and write great stuff. Because they're not part of the A-list, they don't get the visibility, right? So instead, it's a great opportunity to interview them and to put that interview, you guys know me by now, put that interview up on the site, and then they're going to link over to it. And if you do that in mass, it's a great way because these guys are like, hey, finally somebody realized that I got something to offer here, and they're going to definitely spread it out to their followers who might only be 50 or 30 or so. But you know what? I love that. I'm going to add it in. I love it. I love it. The way I would use what I'm talking about today in that regard is I would see of all those people that are blogging, if I can interview 60 people in a year, I'm going to use this methodology to figure out who I try to interview first, second, third, fourth, so that you're getting the best value guys first, or girls, sorry, don't get me. I'm from Philly. We say use guys. Like, it's just part of how we talk. But you know, it's like that's how I would do it. So I would use this methodology and I would bolt it just onto what you're saying. And next time you see it in a presentation, I'll give you a shout out. Thank you. So there's another thing about Google Reader. So how many of you here use Google Reader? Does anybody use the Notes feature in Google Reader? Okay, cool. With the Notes feature, you can drag that little note. There's I think it's called a bookmarklet. Like look up like Google Reader bookmarklet. And if you drag it up to your bookmark toolbar, it actually functions a lot in the same way that Delicious does. So if you're one of those people that just likes to keep it all in Google Reader, you might be able to get away with some of the same stuff. The problem is I don't believe Google Reader has an API, so it's going to be really hard for you to pull that information out. You might have to like subscribe to your own feed via RSS and then pull it in that way, but then that starts to get really technical. All right. So there's these things that I refer to as librarians, and they're people who index a lot of quality content for you. So there are people out there like me who index everything that I think is worthwhile on SEO. If for some reason someone wanted to use me as their filter, you should. I'm doing a lot of that hard work and heavy lifting for you. So here's an example of somebody I found that I consider to be a librarian. And I can see all of her, finally, yeah, good, you guys get to see what Delicious looks like. So see on the right-hand side under related tags, I can see all the things that she's tagged that are related to Arizona, which, can I get a mouse? Yeah, see, Arizona. So what I was looking for this person is I was actually looking for a client who was in Arizona. And I'm looking for, well, who's listing out companies in Arizona? Instead of going to Google, I went into Delicious and typed in the word Arizona, and then I think it was like companies or something like that, and then it's giving me all the related tags. And this person has actually I found out they were about recycling, so then I re-tagged them as eco-friendly. So if I ever have a client that's doing something in the eco-friendly realm, I've already spent the time to find them, I might as well just index them as well, so that if a client comes along and does something great in the eco space, I know somebody else I can contact. But she is, I believe it's she, because it's Krista, okay, well it could be Krista, you never know, we're in Vegas. But assuming it's she is indexing these information about eco-friendly stuff in Arizona pretty regularly. So I can follow her and subscribe to her bookmark so that every time she updates her bookmarks, I'm now updated. The beauty is every time it updates me, if I've built this into the API, it automatically goes into my system and says, hey, she tagged something in Arizona, it tags it in my Delicious the same way and scores it so that if I have a client in Arizona, my tool is telling me, hey, you know what, Will? Something new just popped up in Arizona, you should have an intern take a look at it and make sure that it's good and tagged properly, and if it is, we can go and submit for it. Am I losing anybody yet? Hope not. I try to run the whole gamut, advanced and intermediate and everything else in between. So you can subscribe to tags. So if you see right here, come on, where's my mouse? There it is, subscriptions. I can subscribe to the word directories. Anytime somebody tags something as directories, I know about it. But that's pretty broad, and you're gonna end up with a lot of stuff. Now for me that works, because I'm a search company. I work with 30 clients at a time. It's a good idea for me. If you're in a niche, you really don't want to know every time somebody tags the word directories. It's no good for you. So what you can do is you can put the little plus sign in between words, and let's say you're doing software as a service. You know, you're an ASP model. You're saying, hey, I want to know anybody that lists the word SaaS and directory to tag one page. And anytime somebody uses both of those in combination to tag one page, I want to know. Let other people do some of the work for you. It's like, remember OPP? This is just like other people's data instead of the other thing, okay? So, what I love about Delicious is you can find sites and categorize sites. You can tag them for your link building efforts, and you can score each link you tag. I love the fact that you can order your list, and I mean, to me, this is what we're working on. I mean, I'm not like giving you guys part of it. Like, this is what I'm working on. I'm trying to figure it out. It's tough, but I think it's worth it because we're going to find high quality, niche, on-topic links this way, and not just random crap directory that somebody set up 3 or 4 days ago to get AdSense dollars. So some of you are probably saying, well, I don't have any programmers. How many of you are like, this stuff sounds good, but man, where am I going to start with this? How many of you are in that game? All right. And most of you that raise your hands are probably like, this is where he does his sales pitch. Like, hey, if you don't want to build all this, we already got it built. Come to us. No, you guys that know me, that's not my style. So if you're light on programming resources, this is how you do it. Mechanical Turk. Who in here has heard of Mechanical Turk? Right. Mechanical Turk. You can pay people very little to do very mundane tasks. Sometimes 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever, right? So instead of you building all these APIs and programming, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to tag sites in Delicious, or get an intern to tag sites in Delicious. I wouldn't just use the librarian approach. You want to have some level of quality control on it that's you or someone. But when they find them, it's not worth your time to pull the Alexa rank. It's not worth your time to pull the page rank of each site, the date it was registered, all that stuff. What you can do, sometimes as low as like 10, 15 cents per action, give somebody access to your Delicious feed, have them drop it all into Excel, create a one-time spreadsheet. An online spreadsheet would probably work best. And then you pay them like 5 or 10 cents to say, hey, take these 100 sites and go and pull the Alexa rank for each one. And after you're done that, pull all the .edu links for each one of these. After you're done that, pull the page rank. And they're doing it all manually and building you a more manual version of this database. Sure, it's not as automated, but at 15 cents, 10 cents, 5 cents per action, you'd be amazed that people are going to knock a lot of this work out for you, and you're ending up with the same data that I'm ending up with. Just takes a little bit longer, but for me, because I have to work on 30 sites, I need that scale. For you guys, you might, if you have an intern who's managing some people on Mechanical Turk, it might just work out fine. So what I'm recommending here, and also, so Mechanical, yeah, I did spell that right. So Mechanical Turk is something that's run by Amazon. I'm not overly familiar with how to describe it other than you can pay people to do very mundane tasks, very little. So, you know, it's somebody who's sitting in the college. Remember when you were sitting in college classes and you were bored out of your mind like I was? There are college students who sit there and are like, I got to go to this class because they require me to be here, but this guy's going to pay me 15 cents each time I look up the page rank and index it for 100 sites? All right. Right? So think about it. You know, trust me, you might think, well, I wouldn't do something for 15 cents. Right. But there are people out there who are like, you know, I'm just bored. There are people out there who just need to make another couple bucks. There are people in other countries who you can help who just want to make a couple extra dollars. And for them, maybe that $2 or $3 a day is actually all they need to live, for all we know. So if you think about it, it's a great way to get what you need and also give somebody else something else. At first, I was like, I feel like I'm kind of taking advantage of people. And then you're like, no, it's a marketplace. They choose to do work for 15 cents, that's on them. If I chose to work for you for 15 cents, would you feel bad for me? No, you feel good for yourselves. All right, so you can use a tool like, now this is where it gets a little bit hairy. 1 second. This is where it gets a little bit hairy is you've got to find a tool that these people can add this data into. And I prefer to use an online database or an online spreadsheet like Zoho or Blist. It's B-L-I-S-T is a good one. Because what they'll do is they'll allow multiple people to work on one document. Maybe Google, I don't use the Google spreadsheet stuff, but what you can do is you can allow multiple people to work on a project in a way where you're not moving files around individually where, oh, I overwrote this person's information in the Excel, so that's no good. Question?
Not really a question, just a point on the Amazon Turk. It's a good practice if you feel that you're not going to get accurate data because maybe the guy in the college doesn't really care what he's doing, he just starts clicking away. You can actually pay, let's say, 5 cents per action, have 3 people do it, and take the consensus of the 3.
It's a good call. I've also seen people take, hire one person for like 15 cents per action and hire another person for 5 cents to check the work that the person for 15 cents has done. And because it's such a low cost, it's how you can build basically like the same kind of thing without having to develop all the infrastructure behind it. How are we on time? Everybody look back and say hi to Christina. Hello. She's been awesome. All right. So if we've got a few minutes left, let's get into questions, because I can skip most of that stuff. That's all me. And you can find me in all those places. But like, have you guys not interrupted yet that have questions? Because you should. It's rare that people can just sit here and pick my brain. So, question. Nope, we got a mic coming. Sorry. And who's next? Is there somebody else I can have you guys kind of ready? Okay. Oh, all right. We'll see what we can do.
You were talking about directories.
Yes.
How important is it to be listed in the Yahoo directory where you have to pay? I mean, does it really make a difference in Yahoo rankings?
In the sake of this speed question round, I will cut people off when I have the answer immediately. Yes, submit to the Yahoo directory, pay your $300 every year. You know why? Spammers don't do that crap. So therefore, it's one more way that Google, Yahoo, and MSN know that you're probably somewhat legit, because spammers aren't willing to pay $300 a year to be in a directory when they might make $50 a year on an AdSense revenue. Next question. Wait, there was one in yellow shirt. He hasn't asked anything yet over there. Yes. All right, we're going to go through these really quick. You asked for them. So how to get EDU links? Guest speaking. We're all internet marketing people. Dude, when I sit in front of students and I'm like, how many of you guys are on Twitter? They're like, that sounds like a dirty word and somewhere in some porn magazine. I'm like, nah, dude, it's like a real site. So they don't know anything about this stuff. My point in that is find your local marketing professors, talk to them about this stuff, right? Help them build their curriculum. They'll do two things for you. One, they're the best screen in the world for interns, because you call up the professor you've been helping and say, who's the kid that actually shows up in class and doesn't do Mechanical Turk all day, right? And you might get in front of a club or a group where you can speak about it and get a link over from a .edu. Career fairs, do them. Poster internships, do it. You know, you can, if you want to get really serious, you can find professors' syllabi online, and sometimes they might have something that's out of date or been updated. Find ways to help them. Actually, I think the biggest way that no one talks about with link building, and I wrote about this on my blog, and nobody said anything about it, and I was like, freaking douchebags. Because you know what? You can get more links by trying to help other people than you ever imagine. There are so many people out there trying to game the system and build systems like I've built too, who don't take the time to go, you know what, how can I unselfishly help somebody else out? You'd be amazed at, by helping other people out, how often they're like, I feel like I owe you one. So they're going to refer you to someone. They're going to link over to your site. They're going to let you know the next time there's a presentation comes that you can speak at. You're crazy if you can spend a little bit of time searching Twitter or anything and help people out. It is one of the best ways to get links.
It will.
Yes.
The reason you're saying this, what's the reason you're saying to get links from EDU?
Oh, EDU links are just more valuable. How many of you in here have ever registered a .edu? One. How many of you in here have ever registered a .com, .net, .tv, .org, .mobi, .info, everybody? It's just like the Yahoo submission to the directory. Google, Yahoo, and MSN are looking for clues that indicate quality. And if they know not everybody can register .edu, it makes those links just slightly more valuable. Doesn't make sense to you, makes sense to me. If it doesn't make sense to you, you're not going to be too good at SEO. All right, so sponsor these groups. I mean, there's kids out there. I spoke at a local university, and you know the kids are like, oh my God, for like $25 you can sponsor it. I'm like, really? Okay. And then I didn't say, link over to me and say these words. They just linked over because I was their sponsor. So the second one's like, you know, that's more about doing the right kind of searches. So you search for a word like guest speaker, marketing speaker, etc. on only.edu. So I think you have to go site:/.edu space and then your search word, and then it'll only search .edus for those terms. So if you've got some content to offer that could be interesting to those people, if you've got content that those people might want to consume, it's an easy way to figure out where those people are. School paper links are not working as well because a lot of school papers were like, we can make like all this money by giving out links at the bottom of our site, so that doesn't work as well. We ask our clients what their alma maters are so that we know where they went. We'll research the school and see if they ever profile some of the entrepreneurs or people that are working in the community that went to their school. Some of them do, easy link. And donate money, last thing. All right, so back to my last slide. Question, I'm trying to get somebody who hasn't asked yet. John.
Who do you pay attention to besides Google to research it?
Google. Somebody else who hasn't asked. In the back in the white and striped shirt.
How would you rate
Oh, good question. The question is, how would I value a link in the navigation of a site versus in the body content of a site? I tend to like body of the site a little bit more, but they're hella hard to get, which is a word I just picked up when I was in like California. Hella is supposedly like this word like people up in like the Oakland area say. I was in San Fran and I learned a new word, so it's hella hard to get, I guess. But my point in saying that is links in the navigation tend to become what are referred to as site-wide links, which means on every single page they're part of your navigation. That what happened is people abuse that, so now really only one link really passes value and all the others are just kind of seen as extras that don't really add a lot of value. So there was a time when people wanted to get links in the navigation. Now it doesn't matter as much. Not to mention, I personally believe that links in body copy are, I can't say they're more valuable, they're a heck of a lot harder to pick out if they are influenced or paid links, okay? Anybody who hasn't asked, there's one all the way in the corner in the white. You're gonna have to scream, dude, because I don't think we got a microphone near you.
All right, how important is it to have really good, like, clean site, like the website design, like the coding for it? How important is coding?
The question is just how important is coding and like clean code and all that on the site? I think it's less important than people think. I don't know squat about how my site is programmed. I know when you type it in, it loads on browsers and people don't tell me that there's anything wrong with it. I bet you if you ran a CSS validator or a WC3 validator on it, it would probably, as Gary said, vomit in its own mouth. But it doesn't bother me because it's about the end result, right? Does my site rank well for words that I think it should rank well for? Yes. Well, then I don't care if the stuff is passing WC3 or not. I think if you are horrible or just like totally abusing like WC3 stuff, I think it could have a little bit of an impact, but from what I see, it doesn't. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else who hasn't asked a question? Back there.
Is it possible to have too many links, inbound links from one particular site?
No, because it's like I just mentioned. If you have like 1,000 links from one site, Google's going to count one of them and basically highly discount or not even look at all the other 999. Unless it's like really garbage, like footer link, spammy stuff, which might get you in a little bit of trouble. Question here.
I've heard that going out on forums and posting comments and just putting links to your sites in your signature is a good idea. What are your thoughts on that?
Doesn't hurt. One of the last things I would do in a link building strategy, here's why. Anybody can put a link in their signature tag on any forum anywhere, right? Doesn't sound high quality to me like a .edu link or a link from a blogger or a resource list or a Yahoo directory. So that would be like my last resort because those links aren't very high quality. So I would definitely make that my last resort. What I would look at, are sites that allow you to advertise that are forums that are specific to your niche. I would go that route well before I would go for links in my signature tags. Because have any of you done a search on Google and noticed it'll bring back, if it's a forum, the number of authors and the number of posts in that thread? Has anybody here seen that? Google can totally parse up all that data. So now they know when a link is coming from real content on the outside versus when they're coming from inside posts, probably as signature tags. So if you think about it, it's another way for them to devalue forum links if they chose, because they're already showing us in the search results that they can parse up a forum post and figure out how many unique authors there are, when's the last time it was posted to, and how many posts there are. So it wouldn't be too hard for them to say, well, where's the sig tag in there, and let's throw that out. I just thought of that on the fly.